You're listening to the FairTax for All radio program, where we bring you everything and anything FairTax related. And now, your host, Alex Molesky.
Great harmonies. Welcome to the FairTax for All radio show, folks, where our discussion is centered around income taxes, specifically the current U.S. income tax code. Our main goals here are to educate and inform in order to eliminate the IRS and our horrendous tax code. Stay tuned in this next hour and get on board with the FairTax. Before I get too far into the show, let me give those of you new to the FairTax a brief refresher. I like to do this every week, folks. The FairTax is a bill that eliminates the IRS and replaces the current tax code with a national sales tax of 23% on new goods and services, not used. No more FICA taxes out of your paychecks. No more FICA taxes your employer's having to pay. No more embedded consumption cost of tax compliance. The 23% sales tax collects the tax dollars needed to fund Medicare and Social Security. The fair tax does not eliminate any government plans, just a collection method of taxation. In addition to replacing the income tax, the fair tax also provides each Social Security card holding person a monthly prebate check to cover the 23% sales tax up to the poverty level. This is not welfare. It is only to ensure we are not taxed on necessities. The fair tax lowers the tax rate on every tax bracket. At the same time, it also helps to address the issue of our growing unsustainable national debt. It is a tax plan that shrinks the size of government and puts everybody, every American, in a better financial position. Please go to fairtaxcalculator.org and enter your information. I know you will see you're better off under the fair tax. Now, today on my show, I have fair tax supporters Daar Fisher and Jessica Wexler joining me to discuss how to improve message and outreach to the rest of the country in regards to the fair tax. It's one of the top questions I get when I speak on the fair tax from fair tax fans. It's how we can improve message and reach more people, not just on the radio, but out in public, at meetings, etc., at the dinner table, anywhere. I'm also going to try to get to a few fair tax questions. I know I keep promising that, and some other fair tax information later on the show. So listen in for the next hour, soak up some great fair tax information, and after the show, we'll have Dennis Prager with some of his best from last week. But before Dennis Prager and before my guests join me, I want to talk a little bit about corporations leaving the United States of America. Do you remember the Neil Diamond song, Coming to America? I can't do it in his voice. Here they come. Anyway, it's not about the corporate tax rates in America, that's for sure, folks. Simply put, corporations are sending jobs overseas in big numbers, or they're altogether leaving the United States. Why? Simply put, the tax code. American companies are doing everything within their power to pay the U.S. government less. Companies listed on the American stock exchanges are packing up and leaving the United States and building their new headquarters and tax havens scattered across the globe. Companies such as Garmin, Michael Kors, Carnival, and Nielsen have already left recently. Pfizer almost left this year. And don't be surprised if they still do, folks. And, further going, Walgreens is supposedly one of the next to get out of here. They're looking to move. Major drugstore company chain. And dozens of major corporations have, if not moved completely already, have moved so many of their jobs and have created shells of offices to avoid major tax burdens of our tax system. I can name you a dozen or so companies that have already done so, if you like. I mean, actually, let me start. Aetna, A.G. Edwards, AIG, Allstate, Amazon.com, American Express, American Standard, Anheuser-Busch, AOL, Apple, AT&T. I'm only mentioning a portion of the A's here, folks, and those are some big companies. The list is very long, and what does it mean to you and me? Money. Lots and lots of money. Billions and billions of dollars a year lost each year. Just this last week, Treasury Secretary Jack Lew said that we should not be providing support for corporations that seek to shift their profits overseas to avoid paying their fair share of taxes. What we need as a nation is a new sense of economic patriotism. Well, I'm not sure that Mr. Lew was going this route, but with all due respect, sir, what's unpatriotic is our system of taxation, and you know I have the answer. The tax system now defies the principle the Founding Fathers set up for us. Putting aside the fact that they never intended us to be taxed on income, they definitely would revolt again if they were alive today, based on the unbelievable lack of transparency, simplicity, and fairness of our complicated tax system. I myself do not blame these companies from skipping town and moving to other country by playing the loopholes. They currently play this system, which some call inversion, and it is perfectly legal. They leave the country to avoid the high taxes. It's rather simple, folks. The U.S. corporate tax rate is 35%, the highest in the world. A U.S. company only needs to reincorporate in a country, say, for example, Ireland, where the corporate tax rate is currently under 13%. It does not sound very patriotic to me, but what the heck is patriotic about our unfair taxes? We live in a wide open world, folks, these days. It's not like 100 years ago when this tax code was implemented. The world where we today can all see what's going on in other countries, where it's so easy to move around. Just by scrolling on a computer with a few keywords, we can find whatever we want. This is not 1980. It's not 1913. This is the 21st century, and I personally believe it is high time our leaders take notice and look to our Founding Fathers for guidance. Our Founding Fathers were students of history, folks. They went back hundreds and thousands of years to study to see what civilizations prospered and which one didn't, based upon their economic structure. Let's just say our Founding Fathers used history, okay? The lessons they learned to form our great country, and left us with a simple but brilliantly effective set of tools to govern. I'm going to close this segment on corporations leaving with an answer to the Treasury Secretary's quandary. Stephen Hayes, chairman and president of Americans for Fair Taxation, said this: the fair tax is how America defines economic patriotism. The fair tax, folks. It's that simple, folks. It's really, really that simple. Okay. Right now, actually, I would like to get to my guest because we had a lot to talk about, and I know we're going to run out of time. But this segment right here, folks, and it's very close to me, and I'm probably playing this one a little too loosely, is that the fair tax rests its whole identity on it being, simply put, fair. And I've asked fellow fair taxers from around the country to join me on the show today to help formulate a better plan of outreach for the fair tax. More importantly, I've reached out to all sides of the political spectrum in order to best possible balance this segment. Most fair taxers I know, originally the fair tax was a bipartisan effort, and over the years, for no good reason at all, has become more of a right side tax reform platform. There's no reason it should be one-sided issue. It should be the plan everybody wants. I myself have been affiliated with 4 political parties in my lifetime and still feel a connection to them for all sorts of different reasons. I'm guessing I'm a Renaissance political affiliate. Is that possible? I'd say without a doubt the biggest reason I probably myself switched parties over the years is not my own changes, not my own beliefs, but my perception of the changes within the parties I've been affiliated with. So along with my guest, I'm hoping in the next half hour we can smooth out some sort of plan where we can show everybody why the fair tax is the answer and maybe get a better plan out there, maybe better outreach for even myself. So without further ado, my guest today joining me here to help steer this discussion, I know we have Jessica Wexler on the line. Is Daar on the line too, Jeremy?
Not yet. I'll try to get him right now.
That'd be awesome. But at least I know we have my pal Jessica. They are both fair tax activists. Daar will hopefully be joining us soon. But Jessica, thank you so much for joining me here today on the line.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Now, Jessica is a fair tax supporter, and I found it funny that I was able to hook up with her on Facebook at one point, and then I saw her posting about an old stomping food eatery of mine, grounds, I guess, from my younger days called Hoagie. And I'm like, hold on a second. Jessica, you're in the middle of the country, and I didn't know you when I was a child, but apparently we were at one point in our lives, lived about 3 or 4 or 5 miles away from one another.
Yes, we did.
Well, I've asked you on the show today because I want your help and outreach in the name of the Fair Tax. I know you. I mean, I probably don't need to tell where your political affiliations are anywhere unless you want to. But I know you're not a far right Republican. I know I'm not typically described that way either. I typically don't like bringing up labels on my show since my main selling point of the Fair Tax is that it's for everybody. It is truly a tax for all people. I unfortunately feel the need to talk about political labels since of the 85 sponsors of the bill in D.C., not one is a Democrat. Overall, the fair tax movement has been taken up by the far right, but not the left. The only reason I come up with this is since that the left and the right are not getting along these days, and for that matter, haven't seemed to get along that well for years. What can we do as a fair tax supporter to get the word out and get everybody from all sides of the aisle, voters and the political powers that be, to back the fair tax? Do you have any ideas on this one?
I have lots of ideas around it. It's about people actually taking hold and running with them. I think we have to start with our base of support, which tends to be right-wing as far as Republican conservative, and focus on that it's one issue. Just like you're saying as far as that you're not about the labels with your show, that it is a tax that should benefit everyone, regardless of the political affiliation. We have to make sure that our base, that the volunteers that are talking to people day in and day out, face to face, make sure that they're staying on topic and on issue and are presenting it in a nonpartisan way.
Okay, and that is important. I guess the key word is repetition. I know it's silly. I've had to do sales for my company before, but I'm I'm not good at it, and it seems like maybe this is a reminder course for me. Getting the base of support out there repetitively, getting out there. And I know we've had discussions before about people working with you before, and sometimes like, hold on a second, where'd everybody go? I thought we had some support here, and then they're gone. I guess it's because we're more of a grassroots, and that can be a problem too, starting out. I do know we're going to have to go to break in about a half a minute here. When we come back, I'm hoping we'll have Dar on with us because he is here. Nice. Dar, you stay tuned. You don't hang up. And Jessica, you stay with us too. When we get back, I want you two to start throwing out some ideas of outreach, okay? Folks, we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Fair Tax for All radio show. I'm your host, Alex Molesky, and with me today I have Daar Fisher and Jessica Wexler. We are speaking about outreach within the Fair Tax, and I don't believe any of us are far-right conservatives. We're floating around the political spectrum here. I had these two join me today because I sometimes feel that I'm not getting where I need to be. I feel I might be. I mean, one of the worst people at getting in the door as far as sales go, and I want to be accepted to speak at places. Jessica's already brought up that we just have to keep the base of support strong, and you have to keep the volunteers talking and staying on message. And it's a repeat, repetition, and I do it here on the show every week, so I guess I'm doing it, but it's not giving up. It's reaching out to your politicians out there, and just I guess being able to talk about it at the dinner table, maybe. But I want to be expected to speak at places, at college organizations. I try to outreach to a lot of college groups, conservative, liberal groups. They don't want to hear me speak, and I think I'm a nice guy. Either of you have any idea how I can change that? What can I do? I mean, do I have to? I don't want to be a pest. I'm not a pesky salesperson. I don't like to keep calling people if they don't call me back because I feel, hey, they're not calling me back. They don't want me. One of you chime in if you have an idea. I mean, Jessica or Dar. I mean,
who are you contacting with at the universities? Are you talking to the individual as far as like the college Republicans, college Democrats? Who are you in contact with?
I'm trying to get in contact with the group heads. Sometimes if I can't find a direct email or they don't reply, I might get on their Facebook page and I might, say, hello, I'm a representative for so-and-so of the Fair Tax, and I'd love to be able to speak to your group on the, this, whatever. You would think, especially with universities, colleges, the fair tax has shown to, cost about half the price. Because that's one benefit of the fair tax we've spoken about on the show before, is that it doesn't tax education, betterment. So you think they'd want to listen to it. Maybe it's because they're young. I don't know. Any ideas?
There's so much negative attached as far as it's seen, such as the conservative side. As far as contacting the Democrats, they're going to have postings that show when, they typically have a monthly meeting. I would, instead of asking to speak, I would just go attend one of the meetings so you have a face-to-face, and then they're more likely to go ahead and slot you into one of their speaking positions.
Okay.
Jessica, are you giving? So this is Dar Fisher. Are you giving speeches right now? Are you pretty active? You've been building a family, I believe, haven't you?
I have. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. No, I have not been as far as Kansas City. I've done some things for different people in different areas of the country as they've requested it. I have a grassroots manual on how to do canvassing, phone baking, fundraising, just the basics I put together. Excellent. That I've distributed out to people as they've requested. My local FairTax group tends to not stay on topic, and since the majority of them on other issues are not something I agree with, it's not a group I'm very active with any longer.
Sure. Are you getting the grassroots manual out there? Are you getting that out to Democratic organizations or people that tend, or organizations that tend toward like unions and so on?
I've been actually giving them out to FairTax supporters.
Okay.
As far as how to interact, how to go ahead if you want to do a phone bake. I can't remember his name. There's a gentleman up in Michigan that's very active with FairTax, and he had made contacts asking about volunteer recruitment and different things, and that's one of the sections in the manual I put together that I go over. Great.
What could I have his name up here in Michigan? I'm in Michigan, as you know, I'm in Detroit. Could I have his name?
I'm not sure. I can get it. I can email it to you through Facebook, though, because I know both of you are on my Facebook.
Right.
We're both on your
I think
Facebook,
it's
but
Dan.
we can also
put a link
to places on the show website, Molesky.com, where I will also be putting the podcast of the show up there. But we'll put all the pertinent contact information. And Jessica, I feel very remiss. I didn't know you had a manual. I didn't ask you for it. I feel like I'm getting enough here in class. And my sound man, Jeremy's looking at me with a grin. He's like, you.
Well, I have to tell you, Jessica Wexler is just one persuasive gal. And of course, I met Jessica through a copy of her speech. Actually, it was a video of her speech, which I then put into a written form on Scribed, and I actually incorporate this as a birthday greeting to on the Facebook. I put everybody that I friend on Facebook, both Republican and Democrat, and I get her speech out particularly to my Democratic friends because it is so well organized, and it hits on the vital points of why the fair tax is a nonpartisan issue. And there's some bad mouthing going out there against it because you see with the income and the payroll tax, there's a great deal of government control over our lives, and lobbyists, more than 50% of lobbyists on K Street, they depend on tax favors to bargain for campaign cash with politicians. So politicians actually sell off our tax code to benefit the needs of a lot of corporate interests. So this is a very vital issue to my liberal friends and Democratic friends and friends on the right as well. And I make very good use of Jessica. I make very good use of your speech in written form. And I think last time I tried to view it in video, I couldn't get through. I'm not sure if it's active video now or not. Do you happen to know that, Jessica?
I am not sure. I haven't looked at the speech in probably a year. As of a year ago, we're still up and running.
Okay.
So you can just type my full name in and FairTax on YouTube, and it pops up.
Right, I did. I checked it out the other week. It was still there. It's great.
Right?
It's great outreach. Some people just have a natural ability to to reach people with a good voice, cohesive thoughts put together. Not like me, who has to write out most of my show and Depending on my guest, like Dar, who I think I'm going to have host my next show if I can't do it.
Well, I would be pleased to do that. A lot of my work now is through social media, only because I've got certain restrictions right now in my personal life. I'm taking care of my aged mother, and I've got some responsibilities to see to it that things are taken care of there. So I'm not able to get around like I used to. However, I used to hit the Tea Party gatherings, sign people up on the right. I spend most of my time really on the left now, because this is where I feel the biggest need is to reach my Democratic brothers and sisters. We share common goals. I like to focus on issues that we share in common, because what's happened now is we've got the powers that be that want to keep us highly polarized and at each other's throats. And until we wake up to that, we're going to continue to be controlled and manipulated by the political elite. FairTax runs opposed to control by the political elite.
Got it. And we talked about term limits, and we've talked about on the show in the past, we've also talked about how the FairTax does get rid of these lobbyists. I want, when we come back from break in another minute or so, for us to put this together. Jessica, I really want to talk to you about getting your film up on my, your speech up on my site. I want to put together a plan, some sort of maybe small coalition, a group, a unified group. I need to reach out, but I appreciate you two being on here, folks. Going to take a break right now, and Dar, Jessica, please stay tuned and stay with me, and we'll be right back, folks. Welcome back to the FairTax for All radio show. I'm your host, Alex Molesky here. We speak fair tax. I have with me today Daar Fisher and Jessica Wexler, and we are talking about outreach within the FairTax. The FairTax, as many as you know, is a bill before Congress, and of the 85 sponsors in D.C. of this bill in the Senate and the House combined, they're all Republican. And there's no reason it should be that way. And my guests here agree with me. One thing we were talking about at the break was name calling, and Dar, I know, concentrates a lot on that. I try to be very careful on the show and not point fingers at one political party or the other. Unfortunately, as I said, sometimes it's like whoever happens to be in power at the time is going to feel the brunt of it just because they're the current administration. And you know what? Go back 100 years, Dems, Republicans, they haven't changed the tax code, so you're all done. You're all done. But anyway, I did post. I felt kind of. I saw a great, funny video, y'all. I don't know if you've seen it. I thought it was funny. It was a funny song about the IRS, and I posted it on the FairTax, my Facebook page, and also shared a link with it on the FairTax for All Facebook page. And it was a funny video, and they had it going so well, but then there was this little pop-up in the middle of it, which took a jab at Hillary Clinton. And you know what? She has nothing to do with this IRS scandal, to the best of my knowledge, or if she does, it's extremely minimal. And it just paid no purpose unless you hated pop-up blocks, pop-up windows that show up. But once again, it was a video that could have said, hey, we all hate the IRS, or we're all disgusted with the IRS at least, and know it needs to go away. But then you go ahead and you take a stab at a known Democrat. So I thought that was just kind of like, I had to put a disclosure on posting the video. I said, really funny, but we didn't need this. And
Alex, if I may, focusing on name calling. Again, this is a tool and a technique that is used by those who are in power to keep us divided as citizens. We have common interests as citizens. We're raising families. We're working. We've got an absence of full-time jobs because of the tax code. We've got jobs leaving the country because of the tax code. And then we have a lot of name calling of people. The have-nots start calling names to the haves, and it keeps everybody in motion, working against each other. One thing about Jessica's speech that is so phenomenal is she gives really a little case history within the framework of her speech that shows how she herself had been had a mindset that was didn't understand all these Republicans. But the FairTax actually opened the door to her to start looking at things a little differently. And I can let Jessica talk more to that.
The biggest thing as far as just being more open is first you have to be willing to read the book or at least go over the information. And to do that, you need some type of contact that's outside of you to get you interested. For my case, it was my uncle, who's very, very active in the local FairTax chapter. And we have to make it so we're not getting caught up in the details. I tend to, when I see, because I've done lots of proofreading for different people in regards to doing bullet points about the FairTax, we tend to overload the numbers and all of the details that's going on and how, as far as the different tax codes, instead of just, doing a 3-point bulletin that says, that it's going to increase jobs, that, there's no tax on used items, just doing some major things with just a couple of sentences versus, a page for each of the areas.
Right. We all have a, there's only so much we can handle. And I've learned on the show that you need a break. I've sometimes gone on way too far. I think when you do a speech to somebody or talk to somebody, you have to stop. You have to let them interact. You have to let them pause and take it in. And I think that was one of the great things you mentioned about the book or the books. They allow you to stop and think and then continue on. And that was my take when I first read the Bortz book. And I know if you like Bortz or you don't, it was at least a humorous, a funny and educational look into the fair tax. But you're right. You're right. You have to give people.
And this is something that is of concern also, because what people tend to do now and what this polarization has resulted in is when you just mention who the author is, when you mention Neil Bortz, there's just a lot of people that wouldn't even open the book because his name is on it, because he's a conservative, and there's a lot of liberals that certainly disagree with him, and so they figure that the FairTax is guilty by association.
Right.
So breaking through this guilt by association thing is a real big wall. I've been chipping away at it since 2005, and it's a tough nut to crack. But through patient persistence and courtesy, we can get through this, and we can unite the people left and right of center here to start paying attention.
Got it. Hey, folks, stay with me. We'll be right back after this message. Welcome back to the Fair Tax for All radio show. I am your host, Alex Molesky. We're talking fair tax here today, and today's main subject is outreach. I have Daar Fisher and Jessica Wexler on with me today. Thank you, two, for being with me here on the show. And we're just talking about outreach from all across the spectrum of the political aisles. And I guess we should really stop talking about it in that sense, because it is a tax plan for everybody. And we're trying to get away from people saying it's all one-sided towards the right. It's for everybody. It really is. And I was also just talking before we went to break, I brought up the name Neil Bortz. Neil Bortz is a huge fan and supporter of the fair tax, and he's made some comments that are just off the wall and I completely disagree with in the past. Or maybe it's more rants. It's comments, yeah, and it's rants that I just thought were maybe disgusting. So don't let one or two or three silly moronic rants from a man who overall has a great idea about the fair tax and the benefits for all. Don't let it completely shut you off. So what I'm saying is, if somebody says, hey, they're a Republican and they're talking to you about the fair tax and you're a Democrat, please don't shut them out just because they're a Republican. Don't shut them out of they're a Libertarian or a Democrat or a Green Party, a Tea Party. I don't think we can put labels on people to say they're just 100% one way or the other. There's common ground. And even if it's somebody who's a complete nut job, sometimes listening to the nut, you can find a gem, But anyway, I'm going to turn it back over to you two. I think I've somehow maybe gotten a promise from, maybe not a promise, but I've tried to ask the two of you to work with me. Jessica has a great manual, apparently, that I didn't know about and was remiss in asking for to help with outreach. So I'm hoping, did I kind of get maybe a A promise from the two of you to maybe work with me a little bit more.
Yes,
Absolutely. We're at your service, Alex.
Love it, love it, love it. Got to get the word out. That's all it's about. So you two finish it up. It's your segment to finish up right now, and talk about where you wanted to go with this.
Well, Jessica, give us a report on the status of the FairTax among Democrats and progressives.
I mean, as far as fellow Democrats and progressives, it's a non-issue. That's the problem, that it's not something they even think about, that enters their mind, just because there's such a massive Republican support, they're not willing to even look at it. So the key is we need to get it to them in a way that doesn't push the fact that it's supported by a majority of Republicans. So I would say, even like when you're going to speak to the different, college Dems or college Republicans, I wouldn't even say necessarily that you're doing the fair tax until the end of your speech. I'd go and talk about the benefits and the changes it's going to do in a simplified fashion, and then label what it is.
Excellent idea. As far as outreach in social networks, patient, persistent, getting out of information, I distribute Jessica Wexler's speech far and wide because it is so substantive, so thoughtfully prepared. I would invite your listening audience to search for Jessica Wexler, Wexler, and FairTax, FairTax, one word, and take a look at her speech. It's phenomenal. I sent it out hundreds, if not thousands of times, part of my birthday project. I'm patient and persistent, and I stay on topics of common interest to both progressives and conservatives, talking about monetary reform. We're talking about ending the Federal Reserve, the dominance of a few dominant people who control these central banks globally. There's so much happening here that's of common and urgent interest to both left and right, and that's where I stay. Patient, persistent, kind, and courteous.
Well, I think you two have done a wonderful job here today. I can't thank you enough for coming on and taking the time. I know we had some technical difficulties, and maybe that might be one area I need to focus on when it comes to emails and getting them out to people. Thank you both so much. I know you're both very busy. Dar, good luck with your mother. I know you. I really want to thank you for taking the time to answer Jeremy's call when he reached you today, because I know you're dealing with some things right now. But two wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Let's keep this together. Let's keep this going, and let me know also how I can help you. It's not all about me. It's about everybody, folks.
Well, thank you, Alex.
Too.
Thank you so much.
All right,
and Jessica, thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Any way I can help, just let me know.
Great, guys. Thanks so much for joining us here on the show today.
Take care now.
Folks, that was Daar Fisher and Jessica Wexler, and I am going to I'm going to make sure I put that link to that video that Dar was talking about, because I did hear it and it was great, and it's obviously for this show. And Jessica, I know I will make sure I try to get her manual so I can also help other FairTax folks with outreach and get it out there. Something really interesting, which I didn't talk about with them on the show, because I as I told them at break, we were going to let this one kind of go loose and see where it went, because they had, their outreach people. I didn't want to hog the whole interview. When Jessica asked me the other day about going-ons with the FairTax, because she admittedly had not been quite as involved in it as recently, she said, what did I feel were the big things going on in the FairTax? And it's very interesting. I said there were more sponsors than ever of the bill, record numbers. There are more gubernatorial candidates running on the sales tax as a reform platform than in recent years. The national level of the fair tax has changed from a national board to a grassroots board, turning the power over to the people. The IRS scandal. Congressman Jim Bridenstine, his proposed bill this year to repeal the 16th Amendment and allow all of Congress to come together and come up with a plan, not any one particular plan. The Convention of States Project, putting the power of the amendments into the hands of the people a very safe way to make amendments to the Constitution that our founding fathers put into place, and our national debt problem growing, consistently growing. Those are the big things. Do you hear anything political in there? Not at all. Not at all. So it's just what's going on in the world. It's not political. It's not political. It's just happening. Okay. So thanks again, Daar, Jessica, for joining me. That was very educational for me. And if I seem like I'm talking in robotic terms right now, it's because I think I'm facilitating things through my brain. Just trying to take in what they said, and I'm trying to put it to use in my mind. So let me focus back on you folks. I did just speak about the convention of states. I thought it was nice to see that the state of New Jersey looks like they're ramping it up and trying to get their convention of states projects moving. So I'll keep you up to date on that one. I know that I spoke about it last week. We have to start getting our grassroots here in Arizona up and running for their next session here in Arizona, which is in January. Got to support our representatives to getting the vote past the House and through the Senate this time around. I do want to talk about a guest that I had on a few months back, Mark Meckler. He's the head of Citizens for Self-Governance and the co-founder of the Tea Party Patriots. He was on the show to talk about the Citizens for Self-Governance Sue the IRS campaign. And I love this campaign, Sue the IRS. It's bold. The lawsuit was enacted in order to expose and hold accountable government officials who have intimidated law-abiding Americans. In addition, the lawsuit also aims to deter the IRS and other government agencies from engaging in illegal behavior without fear of being caught, exposed, and brought to justice. Well, Mark shared a nice update for me to share here. On Thursday, U.S. District Judge rejected the IRS's motion to dismiss the NorCal Tea Party's class action lawsuit. Now, listen, I don't care if you are a Tea Party fan or not. This is about the IRS abuses and targeting. I don't care if you are the furthest left or furthest right organization in the country or just a fiscal conservative group like most of the Tea Party groups. This is great news. Let me spell out the news for you. The government claimed that the citizens have no right to redress their own government, regardless of the behavior of the IRS. The judge disagreed, stating that not only could the case go forward, but also setting up a status conference date, indicating the case will not simply languish on the docket, which seems to be happening with, the current Lois Lerner investigation in the IRS. That's big, folks. That's huge. Bottom line is the judge will not let the IRS slide, and it's going to have to answer for its illegal conduct. Great job, Mark. And if you want more information, folks, go to suetheirs.com. That is suetheirs.com. Okay, what else do I have here today? You know what? I want to talk about this one. I failed to bring this one up. And I have so many Q&As I have to get to. I have some great ones. I have affordable healthcare update I want to get to. I have more of the Doug Hartlove and John O'Rourke question and answer replies. But I want to talk really quickly about the death tax for just a moment. By now, most of you know the FairTax eliminates all income taxes, and this includes the death tax. You knew about that, I hope. If you're new, it does. You can save and not worry about paying taxes again on money you've already paid taxes on. It's the tax on the money you leave behind when you die, the money for your heirs, if you don't already know, if you're not familiar with it. But often a very sore point with most people because it's a tax on money you've already been taxed on, right? In the 2013 session, a bill was introduced in the House of Representatives that attracted a majority of the chamber as co-sponsors. This bill, 2429, the Death Tax Repeal Act of 2013. The bill currently has around 217 co-sponsors. It was just one shy of the majority of the whole House. So this could come back again, folks. The tax is a widely unpopular, and it seems illegal to me and many people. But of course, our elected officials put it into law in only 1986. The tax collects, just so you know, folks, less than 0.5% of all federal revenues. It's created just more loopholes for accountants and lawyers and others who profit from its existence. And it just angers the citizens, I think. It's a double or even a triple tax on savings and investment. It's just wrong. It's just simply wrong. Our founding fathers should roll over on this one. The tax is a joke. It's unfair, simply put. I'm fine if H.R. 2429 is passed into law to get rid of this stupid law. It's just one less thing the fair tax will have to eliminate with its passing, right? Why not start piecemeal deconstruction of the fair tax code? I prefer full implementation of the fair tax, but I'll take it one piece at a time. I do want to thank Jessica and Dar for joining me on the show today. That was very big of them to come on. They're both very busy. We're all busy. We're all volunteers. We're all just working, trying to get the word out. They had some great advice, great advice. If you're trying to get into a group to talk about the fair tax, if you're one of the fair tax supporters, if they won't let you in the door, just go there, listen to the group, be interested. We don't all have to be on the same page on everything. I'm not in all the groups that I'm involved in, but I am a tax reform guy, mainly about the fair tax, and keep my mind open about that. We're all different. It's a beautiful thing. I do want to remind you, folks, before we leave, to visit me at Molesky.com to catch up on shows you've missed and to also listen to shows that might be of specific interest to you. You can also find the links there to all of our upcoming events, links to our national and statewide fair tax websites, plus Facebook, and all sorts of great fair tax information. Basically, everything you need to enter into the world of the fair tax is linkable through my website, Molesky.com. That is MELUSKEY.com. It's also posted up at the 960 website. You can link right through there by clicking on my show there. Also, just so you know, we're now putting up video up on the site of the show. Not sure if that helps or not, seeing my mug up there, but sometimes I like to see a video along with the audio. So check that out. You can see what shirt I'm wearing during the show. Folks, thanks so much for listening to Fair Tax for All. We'll be back next week. Jeremy, thanks again as always. You're brilliant.
Thank you, buddy.
Bye-bye, folks. Have a great weekend.